Welcome back to the Big Money Mini channel. Good evening, everybody. Excited to be back with you guys today. This is the completion of chapter 1 in our new book, Pedro Julian's Man Up, and excited to complete this with you guys. So just to finish off, yesterday's chapter was an introduction on Pedro Julian, how he came to America, how he got started as a foreigner in the new land and here in Southern California, not too far away from where we're at right now. As a matter of fact, it's very close to our office, very close to where I started off our family, and just cool to know that he was in this area. I think he doesn't live too far from us now, but anyway, welcome back to the Big Money Mini channel. This is our book club, our second book so far, and we're excited. We're excited to be sharing this with you guys, and just ask that you help us to build this channel by sharing, liking, subscribing what we put up, get the content out there. We are on at Big Money Mini on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. So mainly focusing on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube is where you find all the raw content. Instagram, you'll find more of the refined product, and Big Money Mini, that's more of our business page. So support us there on Facebook and Instagram. Anyway, this is the book you can pick up, Man Up by Pedro Julian. Very interesting so far to see a person come out here and just really start off the American dream, led out here by his father, and just picking up the pieces from there. All right, so section 1 is leading yourself. All right, this is chapter 1, wisdom from an unemployable dropout. Right, and so back to business is where we're going to start off here. So we finished off with him climbing the ladder in Disneyland, and he gave us 2 great examples of leadership, a great one and a poor one, and he is grateful to have experienced both. And it's one of those things, I know TJ says don't let your pain go to waste. So when you experience something negative, you got to use it to your advantage, and that's definitely something that he did, to use Debbie as who was a terrible manager, and use that and be grateful to now that he knows how not to lead people. So it's a great thing. Now we're moving on from Disneyland. He says he worked at Disneyland for 7 years. After 7 years, he saved up enough money and he quit. Then he went into personal training full time, which was his purpose. Right, that's something that he keeps coming back to, is health and fitness. He hasn't touched on exactly why he got into that field, but he says here that he felt it was his purpose. But he said this time was different. If you remember in the first part of the chapter, he tried it out before, and it was a failure, one of his business failures. But he said this time was different, and the reason why he says is because he had a mentor. All right, so now we enter Jim Franco. Now we're going into this gentleman who was his mentor in business. Actually, Jim Franco was one of his clients, an older gentleman named, that he had trained 3 times a week. Again, as a personal trainer, he was in his early 60s, and it says it was the early 60s, and he was a self-made millionaire who had started in the automotive software business. So just to kind of sum him up, if you go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's, he says mom and pop auto shops. I don't know if it's the same system that they use at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, but they have a similar system where you go in, you tell them you need a certain part, they'll ask you for the make, the model, the year, the engine type, all that kind of all that kind of stuff, and they'll be able to find the exact part for your vehicle. And that's what he said. Jim Franco started a company like that called Autolog. All right, that's the name of his company right here, Autolog, which helped mom and pop shops to, cross-reference and find the part that you need specifically for your vehicle. And he said his job was to provide and update that software for them. All right, so until Jim brought this, which that's a great system. It makes things a lot easier. I know I do a lot of do-it-yourself on our trucks, and I just go in there to let them know what engine, what year, what make and model, and they can find the part that the exact part that I need for my car. And so it's a really good system. So he had a great idea of digitizing this and keeping record of it, it makes it so easy for the auto parts people to help the client. Right? And so he would provide and update that software for them. And he says until Jim, these auto parts stores operated out of paper manuals, which I mean, I have a little experience on that. And if you go shopping at Walmart for a light bulb, that those manuals, they're like that thick, and you got to really just go down by the brand and then the make, the year, and all that kind of stuff. It's a hassle. It's a pain in the ass. But to have that automated, that's pretty cool. So I can see where there's a market for that, especially here in California, where everybody has a car or two cars, and not everybody can afford a mechanic. So definitely, this guy was a millionaire. He says he was a self-made millionaire. He says before Jim, they used paper manuals, but after Jim, they had computers, which made them faster and more efficient. Right away, he could tell that from his poise and his self-confidence that he was someone to learn from. Now that's huge, to see. I think Bedros Keuilian just had the right thinking, and that's why he's successful today. He was able to identify this person, Jim Franco, and that he was definitely worth spending time with and learning from. Right, and to identify that, that's a major step in success. There's a lot of people that they'll allow other things, other emotions, feelings get in the way of having, like let's say there's someone there that you can learn from, and because you feel a certain way about that person, it'll deter you from success. It'll deter you from receiving that wisdom, which is the best thing you can do for yourself in any situation, in any industry, is learn from somebody who has the experience, who has, made it, has given a great example. So he was able to identify that, which says a lot about Bedros. He says the moment that talking about Jim Franco, the moment he walked into a room, people took notice. The gym would light up when Jim came in. All right, the ladies loved him. Even the guys in the gym smiled wide when he looked their way. He could develop rapport with anyone, and he does it so fast. You didn't even know he was charming you, and that right there is a skill. People's skills will definitely carry you a long way, especially for you entrepreneurs out there. You've got to have that magnetism he talks about. He says that he was able to build rapport with anybody, and not everybody can do that. And if you cannot do that, you're probably not meant to have your own business. Unless your business is just one of those, you just post up and wait for people to walk into the door. But if you're going to build something big, if you're going to network with people, the ability to rapport with anybody, to connect with anybody, to be able to, find common ground, that's something we learned in our business from our coach, Mario Munoz. And he said he would do it so fast that you didn't even know that he was charming you, and that's a big thing. Most people, wouldn't acknowledge that as a major skill, but definitely if you want to be big, that's something you got to master. Right. And so it says that, reading on, he had a personal magnetism and a confidence that I thought was powerful, and that I knew was one of the secrets behind his business success. All right. So he was able to pick up on that. Reading on, Bedros says that he had an enormous personal discipline, but also brought joy to his work and to his office. He would arrive early every morning and greet every single employee with a smile. Right, now that's a real owner right there. All right, I was invited to his Christmas office party one year. He said usually those are boring. People feel like they're forced to be there. You're just there to just show face for the boss. But he said it was actually fun. They had a lot of fun at this Christmas party. They said he had a blast. Jim dressed up as Santa Claus, and he personally handed each employee a bonus check and thanked them for their work. That's huge. And he said you can see in the people's faces that they were happy to work for Jim. All right, so just like the example that we had in the first part of the chapter with Doug, people didn't want to let him down. They would skip the breaks, for Doug. But he says for me, he set the bar for what office leadership looked like. And also later, I would think back to Jim and his office morale and the culture so that I could replicate it at my headquarters. Now, this is another thing about Bedros. If he didn't pick it up, Bedros is picking up. He's noticing all these great attributes about this Jim Franco guy. He's identifying who he is, how good he is, what skills he can learn from, what skills that he finds that worth learning, right? So these things that he wants to acquire, and I highlighted this part right here because it says later he would think back to Jim and his office morale and culture that was built in this office, and he said that he would think to himself so that later he could replicate it at his own headquarters. So we learned in our business, you got to copy the right cat. When you see something that's working for somebody, you have to implement it to your own business. Find something that you can copy, find something that you can replicate, study it. That's how you become successful. That's how you win. That's how you last long in the business. That's how you overcome, situations and circumstances and everything that comes your way by being able to replicate those who've already made it. Those who have what you want in your business, you got to learn it, study, and copy it. Right. And so he was the trainer of Jim Franco. And he says, as he trained Jim, he would pick his brain in the art of entrepreneurship. And I thought that was huge too. Just really taking advantage of this person. If you have somebody in your life that you feel you can learn from, pick their brain, ask the right questions. There's people all over TikTok, all over Instagram, all over Twitter that you can message, you can ask questions for. Information just comes at you so fast today. It's unbelievable. Usually back in the day when something would be a once in a lifetime moment to meet somebody of a great stature, somebody of great success, and you just have that one moment that you can ask. But now we have information everywhere. We have a lot of it that's free. So we really have no excuse on how, to get better. Everybody puts out free content out there. Like this book again, this is a free book that we're getting from Bezos Julian. We're able to pick his brain. We're able to learn from him. That's something I shared in my last book in this book club, the 25 Biblical Laws of Success. What an honor it is to read that book and receive all the wisdom, knowledge, and nuggets from these two geniuses, William Douglas and Ruben Teixeira. As they, put together, they composed this book of their experiences. It's an honor, and that's why I'm pushing for this book club, because my goal is to get people to start really learning from other people. There's a lot of wisdom in these books. There's a reason why when a country takes over another, the first thing they do is go and burn the books, to keep the history from recycling, to keep the knowledge from recycling, to keep, all of that out of sight, out of mind. And so picking up a book and reading, I mean, my goal is to get myself to be the best reader as I can be, also to be an example to my family, an example in our business, and putting up. The reason why we started this channel is because I'm noticing that we don't read out here in our culture, so that's why we're doing this. But yeah, I love how Bezos Julian is picking up on all of this. He says as he trained him, he would pick his brain about the art of entrepreneurship. He knew that he had a client he could learn from, and he took advantage. You got to take advantage of those situations, take advantage of those opportunities. He was rough around the edges. He was cocky and confident, but he was also a shrewd businessman. And I would watch him and learn so much just listening to his stories about business. Disney had taught me one thing, Disney had taught me that I was unemployable and couldn't work for anyone else. I needed that. I needed to learn from Jim how exactly to work for myself without going broke. And that right there is one of the big humps that you gotta really master. Becoming an entrepreneur, a business owner, you got to figure out how to make it work, because we can all have great ideas, but if we can't figure out how to get it going, you're going to find yourself back at a job. All right. And so he says here, as I shared just earlier, Disney had taught me that I was unemployable and couldn't work for anyone else. So now he's figured out he's got to be a business owner, and now he needed to learn from Jim the how. Right. So he knows that he's got to do it, what he wants to do, but now he's trying to figure out how to do it. And check this out. So he says, as I pushed him through his workout, he taught everything. He taught me everything he knew about running a business. It was like getting an MBA, but being paid for it. Right. So that's pretty cool. He said, and he liked him too. He said he liked me too, and came to believe in me, eventually loaning me $126,000 to start my own business. Now that's pretty cool. he showed interest in this entrepreneur until the successful self-made millionaire, and they got to liking each other, right? And Jim Franco, Bezos Julian made a believer out of him. So much so that he loaned him $126,000. How many people do you know that are not your family, not your blood, that will loan you $126,000? They're not a bank, but will loan you $126,000 to start your own business. That's awesome. Bezos says, I paid him back with interest over time, but the fact that he took a big gamble on his personal trainer was a real vote of confidence for me. That's awesome. That means you had great rapport, you had a great chemistry, great relationship with the person, right? So after Jim's mentoring, I had gained enough confidence to start my own personal training studio. That personal training business grew big and profitable until I sold it. All right. And so after the sale of this business, I went on to coaching and consulting in the fitness industry for the next half decade. And I'm happy to report that my clients and I had great success. But just like my personal training studio, it wasn't a scalable business. All right. And so there was no more growth in it. It says here it was a glorified job. Ooh. If I stopped working, it wouldn't keep working. See, now this brings us to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Again, kudos to Bezos Julian for being able to identify, when something, there's differences, right? So the four quadrants are, I might butcher this. There's employee, self-employed, business owner, and then investor. I think I got the third one wrong. But that's the other three for sure are right. So just because you are working for yourself or you're self-employed, that doesn't mean you're financially free. That doesn't mean that you are free from any risk, because when it comes down to it, if you don't work, your business is not going to pay you, right? If you're not working, your business is not going to pay you. So therefore, he's not out of the, the hot water yet. He still had to figure out how to make this work. It wasn't a scalable business. Again, he says that it was a glorified job. If I stopped working, it wouldn't keep working. All right. So to be able to acknowledge that shows you that Bezos Julian had figured out a lot so far. He's learned so much in his experience. It was pretty much a glorified job. And that's a lot of people right now. So if you're a dentist, you start off your own branch, or a doctor, you start off your own branch, and you're the only doctor there. If you don't show up to work, you don't get paid. It's the same thing, for other people that are in business for themselves. But, let's say you have a landscaping business. If you don't go cut the grass, the grass is not going to cut itself. The lawnmowers can't operate without you. It's pretty much just a glorified job. But he says, I was ready for more. All right. I wanted to be more than just self-employed. So to be able to acknowledge that, to identify that, that's huge. All right, so you got to know. There's a lot of people out there that think that they got it made because they went and started something. You need to know if your business is just a glorified job that's not going to operate when you're not there, or you're sick, or you're out of town, or you got family things going on. If the business can't operate without you, you're not set up. You're not good. You're not. People say I'm good. Like, no, you're not. A real business is a business that works when you're not working, where you can go to sleep and the money still generates. Business still generates. That's a real business. Let's see, self-employed. It says, but more than just being being more than just self-employed takes a long time. But it led me to where I am now as the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, one of the fastest growing franchises on the planet, with nearly 1,000 locations worldwide. But its roots started small, as an immigrant kid who basically faked his way through school, failed at some businesses, and worked as a busboy at Disneyland. To give you another sense of just how small those roots were, it says here that when I was a personal trainer, my immigrant father would tell people that I was a masseuse. He didn't understand why anybody would pay someone else to train me in the gym. He would say, in quotation marks, they paid the gym membership. He'd say in a thick Armenian accent, but why don't they just lift the weights and use the machines? I tried to explain to him that I got paid to help people with their health, just like a massage therapist does. And so I was a masseuse in front of to him from that day forward. It's just common sense these days to talk about entrepreneurs once they've achieved their successes. So I think that was pretty funny. How his dad, kind of wrote him off and just called him a masseuse and didn't really understand, especially being a foreigner. Didn't make sense to him. The business didn't make sense to him. He didn't see the opportunities there, even though it's one of the most recognizable names in that industry, and it's big money today. My dad was the same way. When I quit my job to join my business, he didn't get it. He doesn't know why I would have quit a job to go to get to where I'm at now, to start a business, and build and have the opportunity to build something. It was just it didn't make sense. So it didn't add up to him. Not to a foreigner. It's all about the job, right? Not just job, but jobs, multiples, right? And so, I can relate to him there. But it says, but put them on the cover of magazine. It says it's becomes common these days to talk about entrepreneurs once they've achieved their successes. But we put them on the cover of magazines. We give them awards. We put them on the television. People are a lot less comfortable talking about the long journey to those successes. They don't want to talk about the crappy jobs they've had. They don't want to talk about the awful bosses that they've had to deal with. Is that excuse me? But the story of those valleys is what makes the story of the peaks worth it. Right? That's huge. Excuse me, guys. I'm choking us out. He says people don't want to talk about those things sometimes, but the story of the valleys, excuse me, the story of the valleys is what makes the story of the peaks worth it. When we see people successful, not too many people care, but when they hear about the story of these people and how they've overcome their situation, how they've overcome adversity, it makes it worth hearing. And everybody loves a good success story, a rags to riches story. I love it. I'm a big fan of them. If it doesn't inspire you, then I don't know. But anyway, this is we're going to finish off this chapter right here. It was quicker than I thought. It's just I had some I did something wrong. But anyway, let's see. I lost my place here. Sorry, guys. But he says, so he was a masseuse. The stories. Okay, there you go. All right. Now we're getting into. It looks like he finished off these chapters. He finishes off these chapters with exercises for us. So this is awesome. We get to interact with what's going on here. It says, at the end of every chapter, I'm going to ask you to do some exercises. At the end of every chapter, I'm going to ask you to do some exercises. You can write down your answers and thoughts if you want, or you can just spend some time thinking about them. But don't flick out on these. They matter a lot. Nice. So manning up isn't a light switch that flips. All right, that's huge, right? Manning up isn't a light switch that flips. It's more like a dimmer switch that slowly glides from where you are now to where you need to be, right? And I think that's worth acknowledging because there's a lot of people that they just want you to just flip the switch and man up. And sometimes I can get a little impatient with people, but you gotta make some moves too. You know what I mean? You gotta make some moves. If I'm gonna train somebody, they have to show initiative. They have to show interest. They have to show that they want this. Definitely don't waste your time with anybody who doesn't want it. If their values don't line up with yours, you don't want to waste that time. Let them go do what they want to do with their life. But it says manning up isn't a light switch. It's more of a dimmer switch that slowly glides you from where you are now to where you need to be. It is a process. All right. And he goes further into that, saying that that process develops over time, and a big part of the process is reflecting. The big part of that process is reflecting processing, and strategizing. It's thinking about your life, your past, and your decisions and future desires. No one said that it was going to be easy. And if you're really eager to man up, you don't want it to be. That's huge. No one said it's going to be easy. And if you really want to man up, if you're eager to man up, you don't want it to be. You don't want it to be easy. You don't want it to be easy. This is success is not supposed to be easy. And if it is easy for some people, yeah, good for them. Good for them. But we'll see what stability comes along with the easy win. All right. You want to go through struggle. You want to experience adversity. You want to go through some problems. Because here's the thing, you grow with all of that. You become better. You become a better leader. You'll be able to lead the next person. So when you're training up somebody new, if you haven't gone through that adversity, and then you're developing a new client, you're developing a new agent, you're developing your replacement, and they're going through a situation you don't know how to handle it. What are you going to tell them? Are you going to lie to them? Give them a bunch of fluff. Like for instance, I'll share. I lost my dad 2 years ago. Mother's Day just passed, and now he passed away on Mother's Day 2 years ago, 2019. And last year, I had two girls and sisters who were in my business, and they lost their dad. And I did what I could and what I felt was right to comfort them and encourage them, and keep them strong. And I based it on my experience. And there's times where I wish that I never had gone through that experience. And who does? Who wants to see that? If you lost your dad, you know what I'm talking about, or lost a parent or any loved one, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm glad that I've went through it before other people did in my team, and I was able to do what I had to do and make the right decisions to comfort those two individuals. And that's just like anything else. When you go through something, just what we're taught in our business in Primerica is put a price tag on it. If things don't go your way, hey, that's 10 grand right there. That's 20 grand right there. Things don't happen, the way we plan it to be, hey, that's 100 grand right there. And it's worth putting a price tag on it. And the reason why is because you've gained that knowledge. So now that when you're trading somebody new and they go through it too, you'll be able to share with them and say, look, don't worry about it. Piece of cake. We just, we've went through that so many times. We went through that, and this is what I did. This is how I responded. We went through that, and we came out on top. We went through that, and it was hard. It was difficult, but let me tell you, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's all good. Don't worry. This is normal. You got this. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You become a voice of reason for that new person who's going, traversing through the circumstances, the problems of being a business owner, the ups and downs, the hills and the valleys. You'll be able to help them. All right, so count everything as a great experience. And so let's go over these questions here. He asked these questions and says, so here are 3 sets of questions, not 3 questions, but 3 sets that I'd like you to think about before you go into the next chapter. I'd like to go through them with you, and maybe I might answer some of them with you. All right, so the first set of questions, it says, all great entrepreneurs have great mentors. They have people that they study and look up to. Who is a person in your life that you're studying and learning from? Wow. So I'll answer. Number 1, I'm learning from a few people. And I have a lot of great mentors in my life. My father-in-law, I'm learning from him. I watch the things that he does, and and even though we don't see eye to eye all the time, but I am learning from him. And from the way he handles things. My direct coach is Mario Munoz in our business in Primerica, and love the guy. Seriously, I got his back. He's one of those, I don't know how to explain that, man. He's just, he's been there and coached us through a lot, and I have the utmost respect for him. Seriously, like, he's not blood, but I swear, If somebody came in there and started shooting at it, towards his direction, I'd jump in the way of those bullets. He's worth that. I value his mentorship that much. Even though he's not my family or nothing, but I do value him and how he's helped my family grow, my marriage grow. And so there's that. And then there's the man that trained him, Gerfine, and everybody in that chain. Actually, Rick Susie, Hector Lamar, some great names. You probably don't know who they are, but look them up. Great people. I come from a great lineage in my business, and this is something I'm planning on building my business to be the next big name, the next great name in that lineage. My wife and I, we're going to do some great things. Number two, I discovered the flow state by washing dishes and cleaning tables, but now it's a state I try to cultivate in everything I do. When do you experience flow? When does the time fly by for you? That's something I got to think about. But I think, like, right now we're prospecting new clients, right? And I used to be able to just do it, quick. I could pick up numbers like nothing. We cold market prospect, and we got out of practice because of COVID. Got a little comfortable, and business. Well, we were depending on other people instead of producing personally. But today we were out. Yesterday we were out, my wife and I, and trying to get out there, generate leads, and it's a little more difficult this time. There's still mask mandates and people aren't comfortable and all that kind of stuff. But really, it comes down to us being out of practice. We've lost that flow. Usually, we'd be able to, be in and out, get some numbers, all while taking care of shopping. So, I think shortcuts that I'm taking is getting my step counted. By getting out there and meeting new people and taking care of shopping at the same time, I'm able to experience some of that flow. Here, putting together this podcast, which is something new for us here. We just started off, 2021. But I'm also self-improving in the process. I'm forcing myself to self-improve so I can provide some content to this channel. And though we don't have the audience yet, I'm preparing, for something big, for a big movement here in this channel. And, we got some other things, other projects that we're also going to be utilizing these channels for, and these platforms for. Right? But I get a little bit of, I get to I get to utilize that time by helping others with this content. At the same time, I'm self-improving and bettering myself so that I can attract better business and better recruits into our business. So I would consider that flow, and all the while, in the process, I'm losing weight. I'm getting my little exercise, but getting my steps. That's all my basic little workout is right now, but it's working. Down 13 pounds in 3 weeks, and if you follow my channel, you'll see the progress I'm making in that department. All right. So, and if you follow along, or if you join the channel late, throw it on the comments too. Your answers to these questions. I'd love to hear it sometime. All right. Number 3. All right. So it says, that was the second part of the second section. But number 3, not being good at school was important for me. If I had been at school, I probably wouldn't have become an entrepreneur. Nice. So there you go. Using something negative to steer him in the right direction. He says, all of us have something like this. So something that seems terrible in the moment that ends up being a transformational fork in the road, guiding us to some of our great successes. Nice. Can you identify something in your life like that? Something that has served as a transformational fork in the road for you? Man, I can mention so many things that has caused me to find some great successes. And there's a lot of things, like career-wise. I think part of meeting my wife was due to an injustice at a career that I had when I was the youngest supervisor at the airport, and was climbing up the corporate ladder very quickly, and was recognized throughout the airport for my efforts. And eventually I got screwed. The market went down, the economy went down 2008, and things were bad. And the hatchet man came to town, started cutting management down. And since I was the youngest and the newest, I was the first to get let go, even though I was the hardest worker there. Eventually, it led me to some other jobs, which led me to other jobs, which, gave me some time to go online and while I was at work, and I actually met my wife through that. So thank you, MySpace. Um, but there's a lot of things. I got into the Department of Social Services a few years ago, almost a decade ago, and I don't have a college degree, but I got the job anyway, and I was there for a couple of years, enjoying it. I loved it. It was one of the few jobs, man. I can say I woke up, I went to sleep excited to wake up the next day to go to work. It was one of those jobs like, man, it was so much fun. Um, Handling, social work it was over the phone. We had a call center set up, so because they're shifting everything to be um, electronic and over the phone. I had fun. I had fun there, and it was great. Benefits and all that kind of stuff. But when people found out that I didn't have a degree, they just straight up turned their backs on me. Became very ugly with me, and some people that I consider very good friends, um, were really nasty about it. Just finding out that I didn't have a degree like they did. And that was just really unmerited. I was a good friend, um, but it caused me to really stress out about this place. Like I didn't want to be there anymore. But that was a good push for me because at the same time, you know, my father-in-law got involved with Primerica, and my wife, being the oldest daughter, daddy's little girl, she was right there with him, and then they kind of dragged me along to the meetings, and I was excited about it at all. I was a really negative person, and I really fought, with everything I had to try to get away from this business, which I thought was a scam. Turns out to be the best decision, one of the best decisions I've ever made, making the shift, getting out of that job. Which I could say, just like how we heard in this chapter today, was just a glorified job. At the end of the day, it's still a job. Like, yeah, social services, yeah, there's benefits, yeah, there's a retirement, all that kind of stuff, but nothing like how we have. I'm so glad that I made the switch. And I'm grateful to those haters at social services, DPSS, for Los Angeles County. Thank you for being an asshole to me and for making me hate my job, making me not be comfortable there, making me feel like a loner over there. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made the push to become full time in my business. And they came down on September 11 because my birthday's September 18. They're like, yeah, so it's your birthday next week. What do you want? I was like, well, what do you want to give me? What the hell are you asking me for? They're a bunch of haters anyway. I was done with them, and I said, I don't want anything. So they, yeah, well, we're gonna get you a cake. They're just being really shitty about it. And trying to be fake friendly with me. I don't know why. I don't know why they even bothered. But my birthday, September 18th, September 17th, I left. And I didn't say my final goodbyes. I just said my goodbye. Just, hey, see y'all later. See you later. See you later. I didn't say anything about me leaving. Never went back. That was my birthday gift to myself. Never went back. Didn't have to make a big announcement. Didn't have to have a party. They threw a party for me in the office, and I never came back. So I don't know what that cake looked like, but they can have it. I hope they choke on that. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm not being bitter about it. I laugh at it, but I'm grateful for that experience because it helped me to get to where I am now, and I'm so happy in my business. I'm not rich yet. I will be. I'm not successful yet. I will be. I'm successful in my mind. My mindset is on point. I love it. And it wouldn't have been this way. My marriage wouldn't be so strong as it is now if we had made that point, if I didn't have those fork in the roads. And, another one is my dad passing away. That led me to a few individuals who helped me build the team. And from that team came so much production, so much money, more teammates. And we had a pretty big year that year after my dad passed, because of the people that I crossed path with, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the passing of my dad. It even led to us meeting other people and meeting other people, meeting other people. Next thing you know, our church moved from a storefront church to a big building that we're able to rent, which is just 2-3 blocks down the street from our house. I live with the pastor, and the church is right here now instead of 30 minutes away. And that came all from the death of my dad. It's pretty crazy when you connect the dots backwards, which is something that's fun to do. Connect the dots backwards and why things happen, how things got to be the way that they are. It's pretty interesting. So, yeah, it says not being in school was really important for him, and that's the reason why he became a great entrepreneur. My wife asked me today, because we have situation in management meetings. Why is it that you're so strong, mentally tough, and I can't pinpoint it, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things with forks in the road that had led us to, these transformational forks, as Bedros puts it. There's a lot of these that caused me to think the way that I do. Anyway, that was it for today, guys. We kind of went extended. I kind of went off on a rant after that, but I also want to share my input here. This is part of the reason of this channel, and the reason why is because, well, it might inspire somebody out there, and also because I highly recommend recording yourself. Whether you're gonna go put it live or put it, archive it somewhere on your computer, but record yourself. Put your message out there. Why? Because number one, your voice will mean something to somebody out there. And number two, your kids can always tune in. And when you're no longer here, your voice will still be there. And your thoughts will still be there. And that's the reason why I decided to get this podcast going, because when I'm no longer here, my voice will always be here. The kids will still remember and constantly be reminded of how I think and how I put things together, because here I am on this channel. They can always tune in and watch me. I wish there was a channel I could tune in and watch my dad and listen to him and listen to his reasoning and listen to his thoughts on matters. I'm going to cover a lot, not just this book club. There's a lot that I want to address, and all of that's coming, guys. So may God bless you. May you be blessed. May you pick up a book and read and self-improve and work on your mindset. Get that going for you. But yeah, looking to grow huge with you all as this channel continues to grow. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. Have a good night, y'all.